Vinny, welcome back to T-Town. I hope all is well, man.
Hey, all is well, especially when that Alabama defense shows up and shows everybody, you know what? It's not just this offense that everybody needs to be talking about. We got a nice little defensive core group coming out and showing their national championship contending defense too now.
All right, from your perspective, what went right for this Alabama defense?
I think everything. I think they had gap control on the front. I think our defensive line showed up and finally showed that they are a bunch of 5 stars that came to Alabama for a reason. Quentin Williams just solidified himself, I think, as a top 10 pick. I think our linebackers showed up. Mac Wilson showed that he is a linebacker that is going to be following the footsteps of a C.J. Mosley, a Dante Hightower, Orlando McClain, and a Reuben Foster. And then you have the defensive backs that showed up, and they took it personally. They went out there and they showed Joe Burrow that he is a half-the-field passer and that they're in contention of being one of those defensive back cores that we're going to be talking about in Alabama history.
Well, you said it for 2 weeks, and you nailed Joe Burrow. I mean, the guy did not have an answer for Alabama's defensive side of the football.
No, he doesn't. I don't think against any defense that understands half-the-field passers that he'll have any type of success. Florida was able to do it. Alabama was able to do it. And both times those defenses put pressure, made him feel uncomfortable in the pocket, and they took away his timing routes during the course of the game. In the second half, you saw Florida do it, and then in the entire game, Alabama did that. So whenever you don't allow LSU to run the football, that makes Joe Burrow very vulnerable and shows about how average he is as a quarterback.
Let me ask you from a perspective, and I know you do this, but we've had a hard time removing the Bama hat today. Grant Delpit there on the targeting call. Did you think that was targeting on Henry Ruggs in the end zone? How did you see that play?
I don't think it was targeting.
Okay.
I think it was one of those situations where everybody right now is trying to protect players and trying to protect the sport and trying to limit the talk of concussions, limit the talk of CTE, limit all those type of conversations that are making parents and young kids discouraged of playing the game of football. And I think that's what the NFL and I think that's what the NCAA is doing right now. They're trying to make a statement for them trying to limit that conversation and trying to make people feel more confident in the fact that it is just something that happened once in a while. It's not every single player. I know I had a lot of hits growing up that I took a lot of hits, and I'm fine. I have no CTE, and everything's going good. But, because of a couple of anomalies, an Aaron Hernandez and a couple other people have talked about it. It has been in a discussion, and I think the NCAA and the NFL are trying to crack down on those type of hits.
Vinny, another part is something that caused me a little frustration and anger. I was watching the game on the television. I did not go to Baton Rouge. Marquise went and represented Tide 102.9 down there. I thought there was several missed holding calls. Is that just something that you have to deal with, or maybe did you see it the same way?
I did see it the same way. I think Quentin Williams probably could have got a holding call almost every single play that he was on the field. He was that disruptive. He was that dominant of a player. But as a ref, you got to try and, I guess, not call as many to keep the game competitive and not seem like you're going for Alabama, because at some point Alabama defenses and Alabama schemes are so good, and Coach Saban can scheme up an offensive line, or Tosh Lupoy could have schemed up that offensive line so well that they weren't able to handle movement. And what we were doing was having a lot of success against that offensive line, and we were getting through. We were getting people that were getting tackled for losses, and we were getting a lot of run-through linebackers. And, almost every play could have been a holding call on a run and a couple passes. But, that's what makes Alabama so good, is not only are the players that great, it's the scheme. And even without calling all the holding calls and even without everything going our way, we just have that much success. And Alabama defense kind of showed up in a very, very big way and delivering the goose egg on Saturday.
Vinny, are you seeing Tosh Lupoy become more comfortable? Not saying that he was not comfortable, but just saying becoming more comfortable with his calls and the way that he's setting up his defense to do whatever they're doing scheme-wise.
It takes a while to get comfortable with Coach Saban, and it takes a while to form some type of chemistry per se as to how Coach Saban likes to call a game and how he expects his defensive coordinators to call a game, but then also developing your own type of personality and your own little twist to the game and how you like to call it. So they've been able to grow this year. They've been able to have a lot of success, and throughout this first half of the season and now into LSU, you can see Taj Lupoy getting a lot more comfortable, getting a feel of how he can call this defense and how he can call it to the defensive players that are on the field. They're gaining a lot more experience. They're feeling more comfortable in his defense, so he's able to mix up the variety of calls and mix up the variety of blitzes throughout the football games, and it's causing a lot of problems for these quarterbacks on the opposing teams.
I never want to try to assume something when it comes to injuries, but 33, let's go to Anthony Jennings. Go back to the Clemson game that you were there inside that stadium. As a matter of fact, you were on the sidelines. I mean, he had a great performance. And I don't know if earlier in the season he was 100% healthy, but Alabama needed him to show up because they had already lost Terrell Lewis. They lost Chris Allen. They needed 33 to be on the field. It seems like now he's beginning to play with a lot more confidence and seems a lot closer to 100%.
You know, it's not going to be – a lot of people like to put a timetable on when you are healthy after a knee injury and how fast you should come back, and if coming back too fast can limit you or make you seem like a superhero because you do come back. Everybody sees Adrian Peterson and how fast he came back from his ACL and how he was able to be so successful right at the beginning of the season and almost have a record year after he tore his ACL. And he is the anomaly. And a lot of players and a lot of times whenever you go through a knee surgery, it's a full year to almost a little bit longer than that you actually feel really healthy and completely confident in that knee. And you can see Anthony Jennings now starting to gain a lot of confidence, gain a lot of people like to say swagger right now. And he feels comfortable, and he's going to be more and more dominant as the season goes on. And I think that's the best case scenario because Alabama's going to have to gain momentum. They started off the year so hot that now they're just trying to keep going. And whenever you elevate to a level that nobody can reach so fast, you kind of get complacent and you kind of think we've arrived and we don't even have to keep getting better. And then all of a sudden you see Anthony Jennings and Quentin Williams and Deontay Thompson and Mac Wilson all of a sudden start hitting their stride, and this Alabama offense is going to go, wow, this defense is really starting to show up now. And they're probably going to be competing in practice a lot more. So now this offense is going to say, okay, now we have to start showing up in a bigger way, and we have to start producing it even more. And it's just a contagious kind of atmosphere that Alabama builds. And if they can continue to do that, I think there's going to be a lot of successful games leading into the national championship.
We're talking to Vinnie Sunseri right now, and Alabama has just been named the Football Writers Association National Team of the Week for their performance down in Baton Rouge. That gives us a good chance to stop right here and talk about Rounders there on University Boulevard, and then we'll move on to the second half of the conversation.
Watch the Tide roll at Rounders across from Publix on the Strip with their 11 by 17-foot big screen, over 50 varieties of beers, and 30-plus televisions. Rounders is a place on game day. After the game, celebrate with a great game day view of Bryant-Denny Stadium on the rooftop, live music downstairs, or in the back, in the Boom Boom Room. You can keep the party going and dancing back there. Keep up with the party on Twitter and Instagram at RoundersUA or at RoundersBar on Snapchat.
Vinny, certainly you played the position at a high level. Let's go to Tua, because at times they made him look human. And up until this point, we've seen a superstar Tua, and his bad days are better than most good days. But what did LSU do to kind of confuse Tua a little bit and maybe make him throw the football just a little bit quicker?
You know, they are a good defense, and they have a lot of 5-stars, and they have a lot of athletes that are going to get drafted also. And they felt fairly confident in their ability to mix up coverages and provide pressure that a lot of people haven't been able to do to Tua. And, I'm kind of glad he hit that adversity wall and that he had to play a little longer than he's had to in the past, and that he didn't have all the success, because I wanted to see how he was going to bounce back and how he was going to respond to adverse situations. And I thought he was very confident, and I felt like he bounced back in a good way. Even on the one play where there was a false start or something and they hit him and he's knocked out of the game and he wasn't feeling comfortable and things kind of weren't going his way at the beginning, he bounced back, he came back in, and he made a lot of throws that were really impressive throws, even in the end, especially against this experienced LSU defense. So I thought it was a very coming coming to maturity level game, going into Baton Rouge and handling that pressure, handling that atmosphere, and coming in and providing a Heisman Trophy kind of game. He had a pick, but then he came back and threw 2 touchdowns and ran for another one. So I think it was a really positive day for Tua.
Well, and I think one of the comments that Gary Danielson made that Dave Aranda shared in a pre-show meeting is he said Tua really makes up his mind, which is a good thing, prior to the snap of the football. He does a lot of things pre-read. Certainly, Dave Aranda showed him some things, and I'm sure he'll come back. He'll talk with his quarterback coach and maybe not be as predictable on some of those plays.
Yeah, I think it was one of those situations where everything has gone so great for Tua. Everybody's been saying, when is he going to hit a little bit of a bump? When is he going to not have all the success and be this second coming, or the greatest thing since sliced bread? And I think he learned a lot in this football game. He learned that he is not perfect, that he is not inhuman, and that he is going to make mistakes, and that not everything's going to go his way. And that is what is going to help him mature and help him become a better football player. Because if everything goes right your way, whenever you get adversity, sometimes you can't bounce back. But whenever you do hit adversity and then you're able to bounce back, and you can look at your teammates and they can help lift you up and they can put you in better situations, and you might not make the best throw, but they're still going to make the catch for you. And you might not be having the most success through the air, and then all of a sudden Damian Harris goes off and has over 100 yards rushing and a touchdown in Tiger Stadium against LSU on a primetime game, and all these scouts it's everybody helping everybody, and it's the growth opportunity that this Alabama team needed to hit if they want to be able to go into the SEC championship and beat Georgia, and then go into the college football playoff with a lot of confidence and be able to go and hopefully be able to attend the national championship and then win a national championship in the end.
Vinny, do you think that Tua will see another secondary? I mean, there's a lot of NFL talent in the back end of that defense, third level there in Baton Rouge. Do you see another team that has that type of quality at defensive at backs? I mean, certainly look at Clemson. They got a great defensive line, but that is a group of talented secondary guys. I mean, will you see that throughout? I mean, do you see another team that can do what LSU did on Saturday night?
I don't know if you'll collectively see a defensive back group like LSU the rest of this year, just because they do have a defensive back group that possibly has a couple first-rounders, couple second-rounders, a lot of guys that are going to be drafted high. But like you said, Clemson has a defensive line that Tua hasn't seen. And that might be the most concerning thing if you are an Alabama fan, because I have a lot of confidence with Tua going against linebackers and going against defensive backs and being able to put the ball where he can. But if he's not standing upright and if he can't see through passing lanes, then he's not going to have a lot of success. And he's a shorter quarterback like Drew Brees. And if Christian Wilkins and those defensive linemen from Clemson are able to get a push and create cloudy vision for him during those type of games, he could have a lot of you want to talk about adverse situations. That might be the biggest adversity that he hits all season long, and we're going to have to really rely on that running game. So, be careful what you wish for whenever you say you want him to face these pro type of players, because whenever we go up against, if there's an opportunity to go up against Clemson, it's going to be a dogfight, and Clemson's really showing up in a big way right now.
We're talking to Vinnie Sunseri, national champion defensive back at the University of Alabama. Defense, we've watched them develop over the last 9 games. We've watched the offense continue to grow. Now they've added the other dimension as far as the rushing attack. That is something that you and I have talked about, but they ran the football with authority down in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, Damian Harris kind of stepped up and showed why he is the senior running back, why he needs to be drafted at a high round, and why Coach Saban trusts him so much with the ball in his hand. He had 19 rushes, 107 yards, over 5 yards per carry, and a nice touchdown run. And then you see Najee Harris complimenting. Najee almost had 14 yards per attempt. I just really think if this Alabama football team does what they need to do and they attack practice every day with the same type of mentality of getting better every day, and this Alabama defense attacks practice every day to try and get better, and their special teams continues to grow and continues to mature, and Coach Saban, like he always does, he's not going to let off the gas pedal. He's going to expect this team to get better each week. And if they do continue to get better each week, and these coaches gain more confidence and this team gains more confidence, I don't see any team competing with this Alabama football team. And we're going to be sitting in Santa Clara. We're going to be watching the game, and we're going to be really bored in the fourth quarter because it's not going to be a close game. And I'm excited for that, but I know the rest of college football isn't.
Yeah, and I mean, they're actually saying that, what Alabama's doing is bad for the game. I mean, even though we're loving it, I guess I could somewhat understand that from a perspective. I mean, if you're always getting your head punched in by Alabama and you know exactly what's going to happen before you even blow the first whistle, I guess I can somewhat understand it from that side of the fence.
I don't. You play to win the football game.
Sure.
And you play to be the best. And if you are a competitor, then you want to be the best every single time. And it's shame on these other coaches for not taking on that responsibility like Coach Saban did. He wants to be the best every single day. It could be tiddlywinks. It could be golf. It could be pool. We could be out in the yard throwing the football, trying to see who can throw it the farthest. Coach Saban is going to try his best and his hardest and put forth his best effort to be the greatest. And right now, barring anybody else having some type of immaculate career, Coach Saban is the greatest football coach of all time. And I can say that with 100% confidence and certainty. And it's not anybody else's fault, but every other team that Alabama is having this type of success because Coach Saban out-recruits you, he outworks you, and he makes sure that his team is better prepared than your team. And at the end of the day, that's why he wins, and that's why he's so great.
Well, but there is one part that we need to improve upon. And that's missing those darn PATs, man. It's become a habit. Maybe Nick Saban will have something to preach on this week.
It's been the Achilles heel for Coach Saban and an Alabama football team for the last couple of years, and it hurts me because Cade Foster was one of my best friends in college. But it's just one of those things where you miss one, and then all of a sudden you get in your own head and you start to miss another one, and you just start, and then the hold isn't there, and then it's just like a snowball effect, and it's like quicksand. And the more you fight, the deeper you sink. It is something that we have to improve on because there's going to be a game, there's going to be a time where we need to get a field goal, and it's going to give us a nice cushion. And it might not be that we have to kick a field goal to win the game, but we might be up 7 points with a minute and a half left in the fourth quarter, and we have a chance to ice the game with a field goal. And if we miss that field goal, it's going to not only hurt the morale of our team, but it's going to give their team a big boost about going down the field and scoring on a touchdown. So we definitely have to get that right if we want to have a chance to solidify certain games at certain points and put teams away.
All right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you call the New Orleans Saints victory over the Rams on Friday?
It's one of those things whenever you play football, and I'm not trying to brag, I'm not trying to say that I know a lot more than anybody else, but whenever you play football, and you saw us in 2013, we went down to LSU and had an amazing game. A.J. McCarron orchestrated an unbelievable last-minute drive. T.J. Yeldon screened, and we came back on the field and stopped Zach Mettenberger, and we won that game down in Baton Rouge. The following week, whenever we played Johnny Manziel, and nobody had been talking about that Texas A&M team, and nobody knew Johnny Manziel yet, we got embarrassed at home. It's the same thing the Rams just faced. They had the Green Bay Packers at home. It was an unbelievable, thrilling win. Then they came across the country to play the New Orleans Saints in a big game, but in a situation where the Saints were all amped up and they had nobody else to play the following week. And now the Rams are going back home to play Kansas City. So it was one of those games in between two big home games that traveling across country really paid dividends for the New Orleans Saints, and that's why I kind of took that game.
Hey, it was a great game, a great NFL game, and certainly we'll try to appetize ourselves tonight with my Cowboys and those Titans. We'll see if Maury Cooper can show up in game number 1 for the Big D and see exactly what Derrick Henry, Ryan Fowler, and I think there's one other guy up in Tennessee hanging out with us.
Rashad Evans.
That's right, Rashad Evans. So, I mean, it's like you cannot even find.
You can't forget about these defensive guys.
I know.
Ryan. You like to hype up all these offensive people. You got to give these defensive guys some respect too now.
Well, and I was watching. It's like it's hard to find an NFL game that Alabama guys are not part of. I was watching Atlanta and Washington yesterday. I mean, it was like I was watching the old time of Alabama. It was all over the place with Ridley and Julio doing their thing, and then look at the defensive side of the football. And it is kind of funny when these Alabama guys, like I watched Julio get a really good block. I think it was on Jonathan Allen, kind of pinned him on inside, or maybe took on a allowed Ridley to get free. But I mean, it was just a lot of fun to see these Alabama guys tee off on one another, buddy against buddy, I guess.
No doubt. Everybody asks who's my favorite NFL team. And I say I don't even care about NFL teams. I care about my guys that are in the NFL, and I just hope they have all the success and all the many blessings in the world, and they stay healthy. because in the end of the day, it's longevity in the NFL, and the longer you can last, the longer you can make money, the more successful you can be, and that's all I hope for those guys.
No doubt. Great word. Vinny, let's recap here, talking about Camellia Place right there off of Hackberry, close to the campus of the University of Alabama.
With their gorgeous New York-inspired and styled amenities, great location being steps away from Coleman Coliseum and Bryant-Denny Stadium. Developed by the same builder that built Champions Place and the Chimes in the heart of Tuscaloosa. Check out Camellia Place at www.cameliaplace.com, and you'll find yourself at the spot for Tuscaloosa game day luxury living.
And it has been fun to watch those UA game day condos go up minute by minute. Every Monday when I pass by, I think about, all right, I got to talk to Vinny coming up at 4:30, made possible by Camellia Place, overlooking that wonderful practice facility. And you get closer to the campus, you get it close enough that you can smell those championships. Hey, Vinny, as always, thank you so much. We'll talk to you Friday, man.
Sounds awesome. Have a good week, guys.